away. About 50 seconds now used. Full minute just on this first pick. And they're going to go with the Ricky. A good choice.
Okay, Ricky. Not every team runs it. It is a hero that they occasionally run. They've ran it 3 times in the last month with 2 out of 3 games that they managed to win. When they pick it, they most of the time like to combo it with the obvious choice of a Marana. So that would not be too surprising if they go that route on the side of Team Spirit, to have the Sleeping Dart into the long duration arrow combination. 2 very elusive heroes combined together as well. And on the opposing side, Entity are going to go for Kataomi's Spear Breaker, obviously. Last game it got banned out, and the DP, which probably is going to be another Toby DP, because honestly he's killing it on the hero. He gets sacrificed in terms of farm, but he still gets the exact items that are necessary. Last game he was running around with like 50 armor, and the Naga could not touch him whatsoever. There was no damage coming out onto the DP.
Yeah, the Ricky gives, or sorry, the Spirit Breaker rather, gives a good way to track this Ricky. Have ways to help deal with him. Sure, he can tricks of the trade through to help dodge some of the stun and the disable, but if you get caught, it's going to be costly with all the stun the Spirit Breaker brings out with the bashes. It's going to allow him to have a similar goal too, where you can have this disable gank in a bit more of a raw, brawly fashion than the Ricky does, with just a nice eloquent dart, but lets you achieve similar goals and even some ways to counteract each other. And yeah, they're stumped a little bit.
Yeah, there are a lot of choices that could work. Marana's downside is you can't really leap away from a Spirit Breaker. You could try and annoy it with another stun here. They're going to go for the Snapfire. Not 100% sure if this would be a support or a core, because Collapse also tends to play it in the off lane. I think they might even play it in the mid lane for Laurel. Actually, he does. So there's reasonable flex amongst that hero specifically. I know Poishka also plays it safe lane, so in that regard, they have many choices. But the plus of it is if the enemy won't go for a Phoenix, they won't go for Tombstone, aka Undying, they won't go for a bunch of different heroes. And there we have the Bat Rider being removed from the situation. And I don't think that is a bad choice whatsoever from Team Spirit.
And this is a good counterban in response to the Drow. Something that maybe struggles a little bit against the Bat Rider, perhaps. So able to have that more room with it being taken down. But we've seen how much armor that DP can have if they go for the Terrorblade again, too. The Drow would have such a free game, and you're going to have to get rid of that. And they don't want to see the Storm Invoker. Just banning all the Storm heroes, I suppose.
Storm
is any good mids.
Is pretty much considered one of the best invokers in the world. Tends to almost always go Exort, which is kind of interesting. Though that Enchantress ban is also an interesting one, because that means that they expect this one of the two to be a core, probably going to be the Snapfire in that regard, because the offlane duo of Ricky plus Snapfire is actually pretty good with the cookie combo, the slows, the AoE that they have. It's actually not that bad of a laning situation to be able to get kills together pretty easily.
And again, we have another Ursa ban a bit earlier this time, but won't be seeing our good old cuddly bear be able to rip and tear. And Entity will have the first pick, so they still have the option to go for the Terrorblade, which wouldn't be too bad this game.
I think Terrorblade would be a bit problematic in the laning stage, because Snapfire does do a lot of magic damage. Moment Snapfire hits level 6, it's probably a free kill on the TB. And Ricky will hunt him down in the jungle for the most part. Obviously, they still can if Watson feels it, though it's if they would pick it now, there would probably be 2 counter picks immediately with like a Zeus mid for Laurel and a Yatoro sniper or something along those lines. And okay, probably not sniper because it would be destroyed by the Spirit Breaker. But something along those lines that would make it significantly tougher. Actually, it would not even be that bad of a choice against Spirit Breaker because you can interrupt the charge with the shard on sniper. Laurel did play that sniper mid, the caster build sniper. So that's also, you know, I'm not saying that he should, but it's an option.
It's there. It'd be a bit spicy considering you're going up against what could be a DP mid. We don't know just yet. They're going to throw out the 5 Fishmen. Being able to just have a nice solid performance, a ton of clutch glimpses to confirm kills. And this gives away 0 information to Spirit following these double picks.
Running away is going to be very hard for them, except for the Ricky. Ricky can very easily dodge and weave because he can dodge the glimpse and he can dodge the Spirit Breaker charge with the tricks of the trade. So in that sense, Ricky is actually having a pretty A-okay game so far. But we get to see a Morphling most certainly for Yatoro coming up. That is an interesting pick. It has been pretty good these days with the Aghanim Scepter against a lot of agility-based heroes. We'll have to wait and see if it will be up against one of those this time around. The Tusk makes me question where it's going, because it can be a 5 from Maposhka, but it can also be a Laurel mid snap.
I'm thinking 5 Tusk with the Morphling from what I've seen so far. That's what I'm going to lean towards. It works pretty well to get early damage in that laning phase, which helps Morphling compete. It's going to be important because it's going to be Spirit Breaker +1. I would assume they reveal the Toby hero now. In 1 or 2 teams that like to wait to pick the offlaner till the very end. I don't think Entity is one of those teams.
Team Spirit tends to keep the Collapse hero for last. Obviously, this time around they have a significant flex, so they can always adjust in their roster. Whereas, I mean, Entity can also flex. Toby can play offlane DP, and they can also put Stormstormer mid DP. But that is primarily the only flex, because I don't think anyone's going to play the Spirit Breaker but Kataomi and the Disruptor, obviously, for Fishman. We saw him last game. He had the longest range glimpses ever, but he did manage to catch his opponents every single time, especially the kill onto Laurel after they previously caught themselves. Yatoro was pretty influential in their win.
Yeah. Also, they're going to have the Morphling being able to use Death Prophet spells. That's a bit terrifying when you consider that.
Yeah, the Spirit Siphon keeping you
able
alive.
To use Souls. Yeah, and just freely switch back to the Morphling, get those attacks through. The nature is going to be a little bit more annoying to deal with. The Morphling can handle it just fine.
They have a problem with split pushing, possibly on the side of Team Spirit, that they have to be a bit worried about. And also, still does not necessarily, possibly going to be Watson on the safe lane Age Prophet, still not 100% sure. And they do have last pick to make any adjustments where needed on the Entity side. And you always have to be careful of some good old cheese with a player like Stormstormer that also has quite a nasty amount of heroes that he plays. Same with Watson, to be fair. He also has significantly annoying heroes in his pool.
Go for the late Enigma ban. I mean, if it's able to catch the Morphling, it's pretty much GG's from there. Cuddle also gives that sort of team fight control, tons of magic damage with no ability for the Death Prophet to get on top of him easily. Certainly can, but it's a difficult affair. Just want to make sure that we don't have that Laurel Coddle, one of the things that he's enjoyed playing.
It's also something that Spirit Breaker really hates, because he just gets slowed, and based on the Coddle slow, the more you move, the more you get slowed. Well, that sounds like a horrible move for Kataomi in this game specifically.
Pango, typically a good response against the Morphling. That's a good final ban going from Team Spirit to help them out. Both teams have burnt through most of their reserve getting to the end. No time to think about these last decisions.
Yeah, they expect the last pick to be a Laurel mid-hero. Yeah, the question is which one. There's quite a decent amount of variance that you could go for. I think DK could be just, your everyday safe mid-lane shenanigan. Actually, they ban out the Beastmaster, so they're expecting a possible collapse last pick as well. They're hedging their bets in terms of their predictions.
Is something that can give this hard stun to stop the fighting and leave Entity exposed no matter what they go for in this last pick. It's indication of what they should be going for in the safe lane, which I'm not too confident in. A lot of the meta ones been removed. There's not too much available. But with Spirit, they will go for the off lane and decide on the Mars. Try to force people in that arena, take the fight to the Death Prophet. I would assume a collapse hero, but is there a chance there's something weird like a Laurel mid Mars going on? I don't think so.
It could be possible that they put it mid. They can put the... Honestly, they can put the Ricky 5 and put the Snapfire mid. They can put the Tusk mid. They have a wide variety of options, and Stormer comes up with the Tinker. They have a hero that's good at catching the Tinker. That's the Ricky. That is it. It is going to be a mid Snapfire versus the Tinker matchup. Collapse on the offlane. Mars and the rest of the options are pretty much as you would have expected. But the Stormer Tinker, yeah, I did say, you gotta be a little bit afraid of some good old cheese, and Tinker is one of those nasty cheese heroes that they can bring to the table. I'm really looking forward towards this matchup. They also do have the Mars, which is pretty okay at catching the Tinker with the arena catch, which is always a pretty nice tool through the trees. But I'm feeling the Tinker this game.
Both teams just like, aha, you thought this hero was going to be here. You were mistaken. Or maybe both of them mind gaming each other and aware of their plans. This is some wild drafts. I had some good confidence, I felt like, in Team Spirit in that game number 1. I completely underestimated the amount of damage the Batrider could pump out, especially in that late game. This time around, this is a mystery. This is a wild game too. I don't remember the last time I've seen a Tinker. Having it go against a Snapfire sounds like a pretty nice matchup for him. Again, you have these supports that can catch him out later on in the mid game.
Yeah, I think laning stage wise it could be a little bit dangerous because there's a lot of damage that also comes out of the Snapfire. And if you have one of the supports, as you mentioned, rotating towards mid, Tinker's not really mobile at all. It's actually one of the more slower heroes in that regard, and Snapfire could be a bit overwhelming with the cookie stun. Once he hits level 6 at a decent time in cookie stun with the Mortimer's Kisses. So Stormer not out of the woodworks just yet, but here we have the game that is live. The odds over at BetBoom give the advantage to Spirit. Well, if you join up on BetBoom using the banner below, you could get yourselves a $15 free bet.
I mean, the one benefit that just re-looking over the draft just now that we can see everything, I'm liking the idea of this Morphling just being able to go ham on this Entity lineup. Should have a slight advantage going up against the Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, but it depends on the Stormer build. If he's going to go for the Shiva's Guard, you've got that healing reduction and kind of forces the morph on towards a BKB. I think definitely that will probably be in his thought process regardless, because the Tinker will be blinking and harassing all the time to try and keep them at bay. And it
So what's stopping the Morphling from being a Tinker too? That's the real danger.
I mean, he doesn't have the ulti of Tinker, so you just have a laser, and it's probably the worst one to turn into for the Morphling. I think his main goal is going to be either the DP, or, to be fair, the Spirit Breaker is a decent one to change into, because you do get the status resistance from the Bulldoze. That is really exceptional. If you even get an Aghanim Scepter at some point, you have that incredible charge from the Morphling. That has been a while since we've seen that one come into play, but it's actually not that bad this game.
I think that's the trick, that you can have these counteraction spells for damage, mischance, a lot of utility now on the Tinker, especially with the Warp Flare on top of it. Another useful spell. Maybe don't see too often. You know, this hero's changed a lot over time, and he's not what he used to be.
I'm happy that there's no March of the Machines anymore. I think it's still the Shard. Is it still the Shard? I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen the hero, and no one actually get. If it's, you know, I have no idea. That might have changed ages ago. Regardless, the mid matchup is going pretty even for the time being. Laurel has a little bit more of an advantage. They definitely have kill threat in this lane specifically. The side lanes got a Mars plus Ricky versus the Nature's Prophet plus Disruptor. So you got a double melee versus double range. That could be a bit problematic for Team Spirit. Speaking of problematic, a lot of damage on Stormer. He's taking a heap of damage. Does have his bottle, and will be able to regen because of it.
And bottle means plenty of early harassment. Seems like the Snapfire edging out a little bit initially, forcing them both to go for these water runes.
Yeah, the attack animation as well is pretty
both
good.
Both of them rush it out
from Snapfire.
Yeah, that's true.
And Storm is struggling a teensy-weensy bit right now. Okay, so they did put the double melee versus double range in that bottom lane. Which, there is a chance, obviously, that you can kill off the Nature's Prophet, for instance, because if you get on top of him with like a spear slow from the Ricky, it can be definitely nasty. Fishman, though, is being chased right now. They're trying to get the kill. Bounty rune picked up by Fishman, will be speared to the tree, and that could be his first blood secured. Yes, the smack from Collapse just to secure the deal. It will be first blood for Team Spirit.
And there we go. Quick rotate from Spirit Breaker to at least cause a little bit of annoyance with the stun before slowly walking back to his top lane. Death Prophet will be fine under tower.
I think Stormer's biggest threat this game will definitely be the Ricky. It wouldn't be too surprising if he does not go for the Shiva's Guard build. Even though it's really good, but jumping into a Ricky is also kind of suicide. And this
got the classic Essence Shift abuse. So strong.
Creeping up. It is cut to Omi that is trying to just rotate through, but everyone is content with farming. There's not really that much kill threat here either, because the Morphling can always just swap between his agility to strength, and the Spirit Breaker can obviously interrupt that, but you need a decent amount of luck to be able to get the kill onto Morphling at this stage.
Tusk and Spirit Breaker just going to be throwing fists at each other. Bit of spell casting versus bashes. Nothing screams too dominant of a matchup exactly. Giving the space, the Morphling has decent farm. Just have to wonder what the play is for the Snapfire item-wise early. Got a pretty standard plan from the Morphling item-wise.
Oh, first hit bash.
Ooh.
Charge forward as well. Miposhka takes a lot of damage, but they're not going to go for any dive attempts here. If Kotomi hits just a random bash there, Miposhka would have died. Obviously, banking on 17% gave him please don't kill me. But it did pay off this. Well, it did keep him alive at the very least. Towards mid, yeah, Snapfire just, I assume he'd get bots so that he can try and chase down the Tinker wherever the Tinker would TP on the map. Because that's the downside of playing against a Tinker once he hits level 6. You have to always be careful on the side lanes if you get too close to the enemy's tower that he just TPs and hits you with a nice rocket shenanigan. Omi, a lot of damage. But he can just charge out of there. The kiss is getting thrown out by Laurel towards Stormstormer, who's going to get jumped by Mira, and that is going to be a nice kill secured there, making sure that the Tinker is not starting off as he would like.
And if there's someone that's able to catch this, Snapfire can take this Morphling out. And don't forget, you can take out a free $15 bet without having to take out your wallet, going through BetBoom, clicking through the banner down below.
Well, they are not the most aggressive teams against each other, as we've seen in the previous game. Tend to just farm up until they get their timings. Their Nate's Prophet's having a free all time. I do think that once he hits level 6, the rotations could possibly... well, he is level 6. You have to be a little bit careful. He could rotate quickly with his ulti, TP, clear out towers. And is going for the Hand of Midas first item build. Not looking to go to the late game, it seems. Not every Nature's Prophet goes for it. Some of them tend to pick up the Maelstrom, go for the Gleipnir rush. But this time it's Midas gaming.
Such good mobility to get out of there. The standard just stats build for the Death Prophet early. They use those little mini 40 mana shotgun blasts to get those last hits. And considering there's a Nature's, that's actually one of the strengths of Mars, just being able to spear him to his own trees. He can't teleport out reliably. That's one benefit. Uses the arena to benefit with a kill onto the Disruptor.
Went for Mana Boots, first item on Collapse. Okay. Curious if he wants to go for the Blink Dagger, but always curious to see if we get to see a Guardian Greaves Mars. Because obviously everyone knows Guardian Greaves are amazing. I definitely expect Toby to be going for another Guardian Greaves plus... yeah, plus pipe. Snapfire does do a lot of magic damage. Even the Mars does a significant amount of magic damage. Oh, Fishman. Getting annoyed by Mira, who doesn't even have his level 6 yet. Stormstormer did TP through. But they're going to go for Laurel, because there's Watson on the other side. Laurel, can you get away? The slow comes out onto Katomi, but they will be able to get the stun connected, and Laurel should die. Glimpse back, surrounded. That's a big kill onto the enemy's mid laner. And that's a pretty big one. They also know that the Tusk is nearby, because he just uses Ice Shards to try and help out his mid. A little bit surprising that Miposhka tried to, well, pretty much showed that he was in the area. That should be an easy pickup.
Yeah, good stall, but it takes 3 heroes running through. I guess 2 of them have global presence, so they can just go wherever they want, really. 3, now that I think about it. They can just go everywhere. It's a bit silly. Entity Global Esports. Gonna be their name soon enough. First item, Lincoln's on the morph.
Oh, Katomi, as I guess, is busy stacking the camps. Actually, the camps have been denied in stacking. Currently in the Radiant jungle, there are some sentries placed down to make sure that those camps cannot be stacked. So, good aggressive move to make sure that the Tinker does not have good, easy farming tools. Yatoro is going to TP bottom, and they're going to pressure the tier 1 tower in the area as well. It's time to swap lanes. Currently, Fishman is being blocked into trees by a couple of creeps, and Yatoro will be able to get a freebie while continuing for the tower with that second catapult of the game spawning.
Able to get that tower push in, get those rotations. You get this Mars that can do the frontline tanking. As you have, you know, the Ricky, the Morphling, kind of just bobbing and weaving, dancing around. Being annoying, but they have to deal with this Mars creating all this space.
Oh, Katomi in mid is going to get controlled. Kisses comes out. He's trying to stay close range to Laurel, but actually Laurel gets the damage regardless. Stormer. He's got his Blink Dagger now done. Okay, blinking a little bit further forward would be kind of suicide because Collapse has his own, gets the jump onto Fishman. Now everyone is TPing en masse to make sure that mid lane gets defended. Toby with the Exorcism still running will be able to fear them off the area, but a couple of big kills coming in for Team Spirit. And they're starting to make their lineup work. However, Watson is top net worth on that Nature's Prophet, going for that Maelstrom next to get the Gleipnir to be able to control his opponents a bit more. And actually, right now, Yatoro takes some heavy damage. The arena comes out. He should be able to stay alive in the process. Snowball aggressively. Watson just TP'd in the middle of all that shenanigan. Will be taken down. Collapse should fall immediately afterwards. There's no escaping, especially with Stormer on the Tinker TPing to join the fray. It will be a 2-for-1 trade, but it was the top net worth of Entity secured.
They're going to be pretty happy with that, especially considering that they had very little pickoffs and kills before this. Being able to take that direct fight is going to be helpful. And that's good lockdown. There's nothing to follow it up, so the Morphling will be okay. Going straight to healing, and in fact, the whole team's rotating. They want a team fight.
Good catch on to Fishman. He's not level 6 just yet, but Fishman's also not dead. So we'll be able to stay hidden for the time being. Ice Shards actually hits him. He's trying to heal. Toby gives his ally a little bit of extra healing in the process. And Collapse was looking to go for another Blink catch attempt onto Fishman. And he still manages to get it done. Fishman will be caught in the trees and will die. That tier 1 tower is still not down, surprisingly enough. It should not take too much longer to be secured. Mira is close to the money for the shard, just needs to wait until the 15-minute mark and get himself 350 gold in the meantime, and then he'll be able to constantly sleep dart that Tinker.
Be calling all the goods. We're good to go. Dude, this game's so interesting. I'm imagining the Morphling, especially with the early Lotus Orbs. Or not the Lotus Orb, sorry, the Lincolns. The other L defensive item. Be able to do a lot. So Mira will be just taken out.
Yeah,
Caught out.
They had a sentry down and the high ground observer ward, and yeah, Katomi on the Spirit Breaker is pretty good at hunting people. Honestly, their lineup is pretty much tailor-made for hunting people. With the Tinker blinking after everyone as well, the Glimpse, even the Nature's Prophet and DP are pretty capable at the chase. Tier 1 towards mid will be secured by Watson, so no denial by Maposhka.
Early dream for it.
Radiant are scanning.
Mid tower's already gone. Nothing to use that exorcism on anymore. Trying to just get a few creeps. Disruptor focused on those juicy stacks.
Yeah, but it's all on division. There's a high ground ward placed by Team Spirit on the Radiant high ground towards the triangle. So they see this being placed, and that could be problematic if they're going to try and farm it eventually.
Has to dodge out of there. Thought it was about to be connected by a little bit more than the Spirit Siphon. Just barely out of range. We complain about that. And oh boy, I don't think those ancient stacks have been farmed just yet. Or they're just being farmed now. But he's not going to be able to finish them off. Instead, he'll be finished off, taken out by Laurel. And they are finding a Disruptor too. They want to follow this up. They're calling in the Spirit Breaker, possibly the Nature's Prophet. They want to bring in the rotation.
The healing. In return, they've got themselves a mech on the side of Team Spirit. I do not actually know who has the mech right now. But in is the jump from Collapse, gets the catch going onto Watson, and the Nature's Prophet will falter. There's also a big neutral stack to be cleared up in the process. Katomi tries to run away, but he's going to be held back by Makoshka. With the tag team damage, they have more than enough to take him down. They should be able to clear up that nice, juicy, big camp as well. Oh, look at all that money. Thank you very much, Fishman, for the big old stacks. They even find another one.
That's beautiful. Back-to-back Fishmen getting caught out. They at least clear out the triangle stacks, which is nice. Team Spirit not making the same mistakes as the first game. This team fight a lot stronger on their side to be able to go for these ganks. And Yatoro not going as aggressive and cheeky early to be exposed, weak on weaponry with this Naga. And oh boy, they're taking the duel to this DP. Oh, another Snapfire roll. So much damage. The Spirit Siphon just saving her from now.
Not again, Watson. He TP's in the middle of everyone right there. Needs to back out, needs a bit of support. There's going to be a TP attempt, but it will be interrupted. Collapse is going to be taken down, but in the roach pit, it will be Watson finished off. The Tinker, though, is still a scary prospect. Luckily enough, does not have any mana left and will be TPing out right now. But yeah, Watson's TPing a little bit too aggressively on that Nature's Prophet. Has joined in the middle of the team fight now 2 or 3 times already.
Yatoro also stuck in the Roche pit to just stand around for a few minutes. Just stuck there because of the Tusk, I suppose. Teammate locking him in there.
That was pretty nice by Katomi on the Spirit Breaker. He charged the Snapfire immediately to make sure that the ulti, the kisses got interrupted. Otherwise, that could have been a bit more disastrous for Toby. I guess he did heal a lot more than initially anticipated, so he probably would have still been fine regardless. But it does show that they know what their targeting should be in these fights.
That's a good sleep. That's going to let them set off. The mech keeps the Disruptor alive from that early burst damage coming in from the Tusk. Now a bit of a firewall. And that's here and the shard from the Mars. That's okay. They'll follow up with a round 2 nuke, except from the Yatoro this time. A lot more damage.
Yeah, they Tinker doesn't really have the damage output just yet. Is going to spam a lot through everything. Toby gets stunned. But a nice silence in time to make sure Collapse can't use any more spells. Mira with a sleep dart onto Kataomi with the kisses coming in through the arena. It's a big problem here. They got the Tinker out of harm's way though. The rest of the team is not going to be so lucky. Fishman TP'd in, stacks some kinetic field, but he knows he's a goner in the process. Will be a third one down for Entity. Yes, they kill off again the Mira Ricky, but Mira Ricky, he doesn't care. He just needs to get his sleep darts off, and his job has been successfully done.
Yeah, so I was just sleeping on a little bit. The classic you know, Mars ult with the Snapfire, something early on when Snapfire was introduced. One of the first things we saw being used with great success a ton of the time.
Well, Shiva's
Not
is
so much.
Shiva's is the item that Stormstormer is going to be going for. With that,
Oh boy.
obviously he needs to get himself a BKB. With the BKB, you're still at risk for the Walrus Punch, but you're going to need a BKB on Tinker.
Bit of a dream there.
And Watson, he's building up his own BKB as we speak. The magic damage at this stage of the game is still a little bit too much to handle. And he has been feeling a little bit on the weaker side of things. Mirror places an observer ward right underneath ward vision, sentry ward vision, so easy money there for Fishman. Yatoro's got the full Ags. That's a big one.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I assume he'll turn into the Spirit Breaker, to be fair, because if you still take stats from the Spirit Breaker, you take his status resistance as well. And then you also have Bulldoze, which is also status resistance on top of the already stat. Like, it's really hard to lock you down at that stage.
Yeah. Attack speed and I don't know. The Death Prophet's pretty nasty too because all those spells, like the Spirit Siphon, are going to be amplified too.
Yeah.
Just depends what he wants to go for, but considering the low HP, high agi, and damage, he'll probably just want the status resist, you said. And getting a bash or two tucked in, pretty fun as well. Oh man, that Mars just deletes the Nature's Prophet. It's disgusting. Oh no.
Gonna get away, they're gonna chase him down, and yeah, that's an easy double kill there. Yatoro is, I mean, he's got his items, just only the BKB that is left that he is really realistically needing. Stormstormer, can he get away? You'll scepter by Laurel, actually. But interrupting the TP will be a bit more problematic without the cookie at the ready. So he'll be able to get the TP back to safety. One thing that they do have a problem with is going to possibly be high ground push on Team Spirit. That is always problematic against the Tinker.
Able to get away, and Ricky's going to see it. That Shiva's hurts him a bit, but he follows up with a Sleep Dart, and there's the Tusk, the snowball in, follow up, there's the punch. Should be able to escape, but the Mars is in just in time.
Get to Omi. He's trying to keep them occupied. In comes Toby. Has the Guardian Greaves. Arena doesn't get dropped. There is an Exo, but using it will probably be more risk than reward in this situation. Actually, Watson TP'd in the middle of everything again. Oh my Watson. Toby now is going to be just jumped by the rest of the team. Didn't get his exorcism off just yet, so doesn't even have the extra damage coming out. Does use it now, which is a decent amount later. They are dropping pretty low in HP, and Yatoro wasn't there just yet. But they are just going to get double speared by Collapse's Shard. And they're going to get cleaned up without a single loss on the side of Team Spirit. That was such a untimely team fight from Entity. It was just sloppy all the way through.
Well, keep in mind, it's not just that. So you get the spear, it gets 1 to 2 players, and then the Snapfire can cook you. You get a bonus Mortimer's Kiss with it, and it's just so much damage without dedicating any ults and just using your basic abilities.
Yeah, there are.
I don't know how you deal with all this damage.
I mean, they can't. Like, I get Katomi charging in to help, but what's the spirit like? The TP from Watson again in the middle of everything is just. The man's putting himself at too much risk in all these engagements. Especially considering their lineup is super reasonable at split pushing as well. Obviously, the enemy has quite a significant amount of catch with the Ricky, with the Mars Blink, and considering Collapse has been playing like an absolute monster on that Mars so far, is a lot to fear.
Fear should be a pretty way to describe it, especially when you have Yatoro with this Aegis. Even if you find the cheeky gank, you're able to nuke him down once. You have to find a way to do it twice, which I don't think is possible. Especially when good old Team Spirit are going for a smoke of their own. Well, without the smoke part, they're just taking control of this jungle. They want it.
And they can definitely have it. Currently, it's Yatoro that is quite significantly ahead in terms of farm. On the Morphling, he's got the BKB, Lincolns, Ags, Aegis. He's going for the Scotty next, so it's just stats upon stats upon stats with his next 3 items. And he's going to be very bulky and hard to kill, because they don't necessarily have the best consistent damage unless you've got like Tinker with an Scythe of Ice constantly perma hexing you. It's going to be pretty problematic to kill off this Morphling going further with their heroes.
Problematic's the nice way to put it. I dare say impossible. Especially because an ally has a BKB on top of it. He's even building a Scotty for good measure. Just for even more stats. It seems like they're pretty confident and understand the position they're in. You look at the map, they have the 3 observer wards just tracking anyone that exits that dire base.
Ooh. Bit of anti-synergy, but regardless, it's another freebie there for Yatoro. And he turned into that Spirit Breaker, so with the Aghanim Scepter, he's got the Spirit Breaker Ags version, so it's the cooldown reduction on the charge. And will be able to get himself a pretty substantial kill. Yeah, they're getting pretty much torn apart here on the side of Entity.
There I go. Psych.
God, that is terrifying. Watson with the TP. Sleeping Dart. Oh, not again. Pops the BKB. TP number 2. Warrior's Punch. Yep. Ah, that hurts.
This Mars is such a good pick. Oh.
I'll always remember how foolish you look.
And Collapse is also such a good player.
That too. Second, I should have seen the Snapfire and the Ricky. They got all these great circles to lock down with the Marzul. Combos so well, especially with the Morphling just, you know, waving his way through.
Well, Toby is going for the disarm at the very least. God. Yeah, this is the problem why you need a BKB on the Tinker. Sleeping Dart, you can reduce the sleeping time with your 3rd spell, so that's not a big problem. The problem is the smokescreen. It's just really hard to get out of the silence range of that, and the Tinker is a hero that doesn't really have any fast movement, so the other choice you could go for would be like a 4-staff on the Tinker, which is also not really something that you want to do, though it has been picked up occasionally to deal with that very specific problem that that this Tinker has this game.
Yeah, certainly. And you have everyone in the Spirit lineup just enjoying their time, farming up. They know this Aegis is going away in just a minute. Looks like they'll set up to do some good old farm, keep that lead, and do that classic little chokehold maneuver, essentially, onto Entity.
Yeah, they're just surrounding them. Obviously, they have pretty good heroes to get out of there with the Tinker and Aegis Prophet if they want to get some farm on the other side of the map, but we've seen them getting caught a multitude of times. Speaking of which, Ooh, Mira almost got in range to hit Stormstorm with the sleeping dart, and there's a catch on to mid Toby. He's gonna get taken down inside the arena. 50 seconds, no Toby. So no DP if they're gonna go for the high ground push, but the Aegis has just been reclaimed, so don't really know if they want to continue poking the bear.
Perhaps not, but they see info on this Tinker. They're already rotating towards this direction. Knows he's trying to cut these waves to delay the push, to stall the best he can for time. But man, this Mars is so quick on his feet. He does miss the spears. This Tinker will be able to get out alive.
My thanks will come
Fortunate
later,
enough
when
for
you least
him.
expect it.
Mira even has a Yule Scepter extra for more lockdown shenanigans. And he's still in the area. Stormstormer is going to jump towards Mira. Yule Scepter. And Stormstorm pops his BKB immediately. That's his first BKB usage. I actually don't know if I assume the Tinker Shield can be purged, which actually makes the Yule Scepter even better. I'll have to check that to be specific.
I'll cover you right now and take a good old glance. Is it dispellable? Doesn't seem to state. Intuitively, I would assume so.
Yeah, my Tinker gameplay is too much thinking with too much buttons to press. And I'm too short of a span of time, so I don't play much of the Tinky Winky.
It doesn't pure spell immunity, so
It is
I would
dispellable.
imagine it's pretty reliable
Defense
to get purged.
matrix is
Yeah.
dispellable. So yeah, with the Yule Scepter, you can get rid of the defense matrix and make sure that the sleeping dart lasts longer. Before the BKB comes into play, obviously, because now he does have that BKB secured. Does need to be careful that when it's on cooldown, like right now, he's actually going for the E-Blade as his next item. I kind of like the E-Blade here. It's a good way to save your allies, possibly in case it's needed, and also it does a tremendous amount of damage onto your opponents with the Shiva's Guard combined.
It's a bit of a classic we've always seen on the Tinker. Just going for this E-Blade shotgun, essentially. Speaking of which, they're going to try to shotgun down this Ricky. To try to cookie off him out of there, the Yule Scepter will help him delay, and it actually, in fact, dispels the dust to the detect, so he's able to blink onto the DP.
Oh,
and the
Maposhka.
BKB's just barely enough, but Maposhka comes in just in time. Should be able to be right click down, and even the snowball follow-up. Oh no, the Morphling's here now.
Lol got taken down though. They did lose the Snapfire in the process, but without the Tinker it's a little bit more problematic. Toby's going to get jumped. Silenced up as well. And Maposhka with a double kill on the Tuskaroo. Yatoro's got himself the Scotty done, so the healing of the DP is going to be significantly less. And also the fact that obviously he's stealing a bunch of stats if he turns into the DP. So, problematic affair. Tinker is dead. Their fighting is pretty weak.
Yatoro succeeding with a wild move and killing the DP with the DP, which I found amusing. And sure, they're able to find at least a pickoff. Just feels like we're waiting for this Roshan, so they're willing to go into this base, take that last team fight.
Next Roche is, 15 seconds. Second Roche, free shard. Currently, only the Tusk and the Morph need a shard, but Morph would not mind a shard this time around, because if he gets a shard and turns into DP, his Spirit Siphons actually also add in a Fear after duration, well, after a certain amount of time, which is a nice addition.
That'd be quite literally terrifying.
Indeed it would be. And they're clearing out the enemy's triangle to make sure that they can get a clean, free Roche.
Oh, they're going to go further. They have this Ricky with mobility. That's Sweep Dart. That's the Death Prophet.
Toby's getting defended currently. They are going to jump in. Mortimiscus comes out. Can they keep him alive? Toby is dropping low. Toby is dead. And currently, Katomi trying to make space, but he's actually going to be able to get the TP or... Nope, he is not. He's still got control in the area. So, that's a painful moment. Looking up towards the high ground is going to be the push. Storm trying to defend, gets immediately hexed up by Laurel. There's the Cookie Sun as well. Storm is dead. Buys back. Tries to defend his base, but the rest of his team is dropping like flies. Dieback coming out on the Fishman. The Tinker spam is going to, at the very least, keep them at bay for a little bit longer, but they are pretty much on the clutch right here of getting taken down in game number 2, because it is team spirit all the way through.
And they're running into that Roach pit, having the Morphling work a little bit on that creep wave that's been pushed into the top lane. They'll even patiently wait for their godlike carry, Toro. Should be up to 30k net worth after this. Oh no, the Daedalus too. I don't know how you survive for more than a blink of an eye, such as Mars disabled. He's going to build an Ag's Blessing just so he has that extra room.
The worst part is the fact that he has boss level 2 on a Morphling. That shows you exactly how much he despises the global. Like, he needs to hunt them down with the Nate's Prophet and the Tinker constantly. So he has bots level 2. That gives him a 30-second cooldown on his TP, and he can TP towards allies. And I think it also gives you like 10 more movement speed over normal bots.
Something about that. The fact that just if anyone dares attack any of his heroes, he can teleport right in on them to try to respond, which is just terrifying. Just spamming the defense matrices on everyone just in case they get initiated on, to have that status resist temporarily.
Yeah, more buttons to press.
Cooldown.
More chaos to be prolonged. Toby building up the pipe next. But right now, the magic damage is not the big problem. Boschka, though, gets the blink back. There is a chase coming up from the Tinker. And he will be able to keep them. Actually, no, the glimpse from Fishman catches out the Tusk.
Wow.
And they do manage to get a pretty bulky kill there with a 4-kill streak on Vaposhka. That's almost a 1k towards Entity, but no, unfortunately, they're still 31k behind.
Certainly. You gotta take the small successes. Throws it in. They're relying on this Tinker with the defense matrix to stop this Ricky from being so problematic. That won't stop the Morphling from going in.
That's a dieback.
That's a dead Tinker.
That should be good. Yep, there's the GG call.
There it is.
It was a very controlled game by Team Spirit. Collapse looked superb. Yatoro on Morphling as well. And it was really hard for the Tinker to realistically do much, I would say. I would assume Yatoro would be the MVP this time around, though I think Collapse has done such a tremendous work on the Mars with a lot of just incredible catches onto the Tinker and the Nate's Prophet. But granted, I do think that Entity were playing a little bit, I guess, out of their comfort zone maybe, because they were like TPing in the middle of the team fight. They lost one hero, then everyone came in one at a time to try and like help him out. That backfired significantly. A lot of save your buddy syndrome, and not really what I would have expected from Entity. They got toyed with by Spirit.
Maybe a bit of frustration too, I'm sure, and how could you blame him? Yatoro, so frustrating with that Morphling, an amazing performance. But it wasn't just him, it was just the whole draft. Everything from Team Spirit pieced together in a way that no one could respond on the side of Team Entity to bring us to a 1-1, and I imagine it was just so frustrating to try to keep that game together and that mental fortitude. Though they'll have a little bit of time to reset, as after all, we have a break, and when you come back, game number 3, one of these teams getting eliminated, and the last one moving on. We have 3 teams left for tomorrow. We'll see you guys shortly.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 was a very one-sided affair in favor of Team Spirit. The Tinker could not get the job done whatsoever, and, well, they never really got the ball rolling either. It was Team Spirit all the way through. And now we are starting the draft for game number 3 to decide which of these two teams will be the first invited team that is eliminated to at the BetBoom Universe tournament. Trevor, what exactly went wrong in game number 2?
This Mars had the game of his life. The Snapfire was able to have the space to be able to gank and succeed, to work with that Mars to be so deadly. And when you combined it, even though it was a double melee lane, the fact that it's a Tusk and a Mars is oppressive to deal with.
10 seconds remaining.
Stack on top of that, the Morphling had all the space in the world to get the farm he needed, and it just ended up being a bit of almost a free game for Team Spirit. How well they played. Entity doing their best.
Yeah, their best was not enough, it seems, this time around. New round, new chances, new draft. Possibly. New draft could be the same. We do have ourselves our first bans with the Broodmother, unsurprisingly, the Rubik, Treant, and Lena, like last game as well. The exact same for bans coming into play. And will we get to see the same heroes? That is the big question here. Because it did not, I get what the idea was from the Entity roster. They wanted to play that global, mass TP, shenanigan all over the place with the Tinker, with the Nature's Prophet, with the Spirit Breaker charge. It just did not pan out whatsoever. And here we have, this time, Team Spirit picking up the Death Prophet instead of Entity, so they will be able to scoop that one up in their own favor. So this time, no Toby DP to be witnessed.
10 seconds remaining.
Setting up, they're just like, okay, we'll maybe give it to Collapse or Laurel, not entirely sure yet, but we're ready to just have a nice time with the hero and have that flexibility. And Entity flip things around on them, go for the Ricky Natures.
Yep, obviously, Nature's Prophet reasonably flexible, especially if they decide to, for instance, pick a Batrider or something along those lines. From on Team Spirit's side, they'll probably not make it the safe lane. Watson might want to have a little bit of a redemption on the hero as well. Did not really look that fluid, I would say. He got caught off a couple of times. Wanted to join his teammates, probably a little bit too early in the game, and most of the time he TP'd in the middle of 3 enemy heroes and just got badgered at that point. So wasn't the best showing so far. Could also just be an easily Toby Nature's Prophet, but they're actually going to take the Spirit Breaker on the side of Spirit. So no Kata Omi Spirit Breaker this time around, but probably going to be a Mirror one or a Collapse one, because he does also play it in the off lane.
10 seconds remaining.
And we're flipping everything on its head with this draft, it seems. Just everyone going for the opposite picks. Batrider banned out once again. Such a problem. Good to see him removed in that game number 1, just doing unprecedented amount of damage. Doing the amount of 2 hard carries on his own.
Yeah, Stormer did a good job, even though he did fall behind in game number 1. Has had a bit more of a troubling laning stage in both these games for Stormer, but he tends to be a player that can recover pretty well later down the line. Now they're going to make sure that his heroes are probably banned. I would not be surprised if the Voker is going to be the next ban that they'll go for. It is obviously a Stormer Classic, and they have some nice Sunstrike possibilities to set up in this game as well.
And there's one reason to believe that, just in case you had some suspicion, like, for some reason, somehow the team displays were flipped and it's actually Entity going for the Death Prophet, Spirit Breaker. But seeing Entity ban out The Snapfire after that
5
last game,
seconds
that's a
remaining.
clear indication that they wanted to go for the Ricky Nature's Prophet.
Entities
Things are
turn to
weird.
ban.
But there's plenty of time for this game 3 to get even weirder, as now an Undying ban's thrown into the mix. Still Clockwork floating around as this good old trusty 5.
Yeah, Fishman loves his Undying, plays it most of the time whenever he can. Especially now that the Snapfire is banned, it seemed more likely that the Undying could be a possibility
5
pick for
seconds
them.
remaining.
And as you mentioned, Clockwork, of course, another hero that Fishman loves to play. His most, honestly, I think his best hero is probably Bane, but Bane doesn't really get played in this current meta anymore. Too single target oriented most of the time, whereas a lot of it is like global TP strats
Team
into
spirits turn to
sustain,
ban.
where even if you fiend script someone, the team doesn't have enough damage to kill them.
Entities turn
Yeah.
to ban.
Speaking of which, when you mentioned that, a big question, they're going to go for the banning the Storm Invoker. Fair enough. But you know what's a valuable team fight hero with the Snapfire ban? That's always an very dangerous hero to deal with. It's the good old Phoenix. Could be seeing
10
that out
seconds
any
remaining.
second on one of these two teams.
That is definitely a possibility. We
5
saw it in the
seconds
previous
remaining.
series, of course. Snake King played it super well. The amount of healing and damage coming out from that hero is pretty astonishing. Don't necessarily know if they play it on entity side. To be completely honest, it is definitely a hero that is not a meta pick in that sense. It seems more of a specialty pick. I will quickly check to have they even played it.
It's a great, good old question.
They have not played
Because
it
if
in
they-
the last month at the very least, so I don't think that one will be surprising our feed any coming up next.
Yeah, that's even more reason that Team Spirit might be able to safely pick it up. As entities spend all this ban time on this last choice, a little bit thrown off, perhaps. It's interesting to see that they don't know what they want to go with. Considering that this is just the ban, maybe they're trying to figure out the first and second pick and think ahead because they are investing everything into this.
Entities turn to pick.
And there we go. They decide to go with the Enchantress at the end. That's one we've commonly seen. I'm assuming it's what's coming after the Enchantress, where the ideas for Entity are going to start brewing.
The Enchantress is a hero that a lot of teams ban against Spirit because Miposhka is really capable on it. Mira can play it as well if need be. Same thing with Gaming Gladiators. They ban it because Celery is really good on it, but it also counters a couple of offlane heroes, most notably the Darkseer. So if you want to possibly play the Darkseer, you probably need to get rid of those Dispel heroes. The other one that would probably be an option would be the to deal with, of course, the Darkseer would be a Oracle, but that one is significantly disappeared from the scene currently. But there we have the Marana being picked up. It's possibly a Toby offlane Marana, actually, to be fair, because he does play it offlane as one of the rare few out there. It is a great combo, obviously, with the Ricky Sleeping Dart into Arrow combination that some regions tend to favor more than others.
I'd like to see him bring the Mars back out even this early. Like, sure, you won't have the Snapfire this time, or even the Ricky Silence, as that's brought over, and I guess even a counter to it. But you still have that DP that can just go in there and have that heavy presence and sustain. It's a fair shot to consider. Or even something like the Legion, if you want to go for the lockdown, deal with the natures.
Yeah, we saw Celery play the Legion to try and counter out a Brood recently as a 5. Could always do some very weird shenanigans like that, because if you get a Legion and someone gets 5-second arrowed, you at least will be able to purge off the stun from that Marana arrow and keep possibly a hero alive. Obviously, the other hero that does pretty much exactly that would be the Omni Knight, and would the Abaddon would also be another choice to deal with this very annoying combo. There are some hero players that tend to go for ODs, some saving cover heroes, but I don't think Laurel is an OD player. I do think Stormstormer would be a possible one, though. They're going to pick up the Marcy plus Sven. Okay. That is curious. Wait, now I'm really confused. Because I assume it's a Sven safe lane for Yatoro. If it was picked up by Entity, it would probably be a Katomi 4-position Sven. But then the Marcy, are they playing this a Marcy offlane Spirit Breaker for DP mid or DP offlane Marcy support? Feels strange. And that one is the hero that I did expect, though. The Watson Pudge.
It's either the 5 Marcy with the Yatoro Sven, or it's the other way around. I think the big key that will tell us which route they go for is mainly if they go for a Magnus. That could be a good pointer towards the direction. We've seen Marcy Magnus as an insane hard carry duo. And what better to give you even more additional chase than just abusing that war cry. So I'm trusting more the Sven stun. And I guess there's the fear of some kind of illusion hero being brought out. So they're just willing to buy into the Sven early. Take that risk.
Entity, they picked up the Watson Pudge, and he is really, really good on the Pudge. It's one of his signature heroes as well. And with the Ricky Shard, Marana Arrow, there are lengthy stuns on enemies to throw out that you can drag them out. The Aghanim Scepter is good against DP's healing. In general, it's pretty solid as well against Sven, because you have that hard lockdown available as well. Plus, you tend to become a very beefy boy, where Sven really prefers to two-shot his opponents. And the displacement effect of Pudge is always a big must. The only downside is that they do have a very heavy jump lineup on the side of Team Spirit, and I think because of that reason, they're making sure that the Nature's Prophet is not going to be Watson. Because if Spirit Breaker and Marcy plus DP and Sven jump on a Nature's Prophet, he is just dead in half a second. And then it's probably better to have a beefy boy, as the Pudge would definitely fill that void.
5 seconds remaining.
I'm just surprised they go for the Sven instead of the Ursa.
Turn to pick.
Honestly, they could still flex it, because Kataomi plays the Sven position 4. There was also a time when Sven was played off lane, long time ago. But it's most likely just going to be Yatoro. One thing that Sven does better than most heroes is the fact that he has that innate Battle Fury, and you can farm stupidly fast on the hero if your teammates create space plus stacks for you. And at that point, you're looking at it
plus treants.
20, plus you clear out treants pretty quickly. And then you're looking at like a 20-minute game where you're like 5k ahead of anyone else. Okay.
Just a lot of this high AoE counter and damage, just expecting some kind of illusion core, I guess? Or forcing them not to be able to pick one. It's
10 seconds remaining.
I don't think
an interesting setup. It's a lot of good team fight and stun.
5
I think it's just
it's the entire reason you'd go for this Sven over an Ursa, which is what has me so confused.
I guess it's just to clear out the treants and in general just get really farmed. But we'll see who's going to be playing what. I don't think Yatoro is going to let go of that Sven, though. Collapse is going to be playing offlane TP. Laurel mid. Okay, it is going to be
there we go.
A Yatoro Marcy. So 5-position Sven this game. They're playing some weird shenanigans on their part. Marcy is actually better at dealing with a Pudge than Sven is. The Puck, however, can be a very big problem for them this game. Dream Coil especially. The Pango doesn't really mind it because he can roll up Rolling Thunder out of it. but they're all reliant on mobility, with their DP plus the rest of them being, melee heroes. That the Dream Coil of Puck can do significant amounts of damage this game, and I definitely can see them winning with this Pudge in the safe lane. Marcy is pretty scary though. I have underrated Marcy a multitude of times, but I'm going to go with Entity again, just slightly. I think the Watson Pudge is very capable.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The Shard for the War Cry is pretty helpful.
But the main damage is going to be physical anyway. Magical damage anyway. So the extra armor is nice. But primarily, it's going to be magic damage coming out from Entity. So it doesn't bring in that much value.
Has me just even more confused trying to think about this Finn and what the plan is. As a 5, it seems like it will lack a little bit. Especially early on.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It is going to be that 5 Mirana. As you can see the odds over on your screen, they're giving a lot more love towards the side of Team Spirit. And granted, they have a very interesting draft to work with. If you are looking to place yourselves a bet, don't forget to check out BetBoom. The link is below the stream. And get yourselves a free $15 bet to place.
Yes, have a decent bit of strength heroes. I guess the Sven does give them reliable stun.
Yeah, and the movement speed is pretty nice. I think it's not bad necessarily. I think a 4-position Sven, because he can then get a Blink Dagger, decent timing might be a little bit more helpful, but considering, you got a Spirit Breaker, that's kind of out of the option. Spirit Breaker 5, I think, is reasonably worse because he just needs to get himself a BKB, and then he turns into a semi-core as well. There's the hook coming in. The bounty room gets picked up by Fishman. A lot of damage. Mirror's trying to get another bash secured. Watson's actually going in onto the Spirit Breaker here. A lot of damage. And same on towards Collapse. Watson, does he have a hook soon enough? He is chasing for quite some time. Gets the hook connected onto Collapse, and Collapse is forced to pop the Fairy Fire. Miro tries to get another bash in, but they're being bullied back right now, and a lot of damage. The second smack comes onto Collapse, gets taken down. And Fishman up against Mira. The bash comes out from Mira. One more right click needed, or so you think. Good hook to make sure that Mirana would not be taken down. And again, Fishman with the Starstorm gets his second kill. Easy double kill for the Mirana. Thank you very much.
It's not a lot of Pudge CM, but we're going to have a bit of a mix-up with the Mirana. Also a really good nuking support early. Can't blame him there.
And he suicides to get the faster respawn and not being forced to walk all the way back to base, plus making sure that you get that TP scroll for free.
A little bit helpful. And this is a matchup we've seen go both ways. And had it mentioned in interviews, there's so many amazing mid players at the moment. And this Puck Pangolier is a matchup that can swing either way depending on how accurate, how many spells the damage with the Swashbuckle Pango can find. It's not going to be easy, especially with Stormer. Amazing Puck player.
Oh, Mira gets taken down. Another kill in that bottom lane. And these are all nice stacks coming in for the Pudge as well. Preemptively, obviously, because he most likely doesn't have the Flesh Heap just yet. But it is a little bit painful that the DP is struggling in that bottom lane currently. Speaking of struggling, Collapse is going to get hooked back again, and another one for Watson. Let's just stick to the bottom lane, okay? Because everything's happening here. Puck versus Pango, obviously they can kill each other. But that's most of the time once their ultis come into play.
I don't know. It like sure there's stuff happening off in this bottom lane, but it's only happening in one direction. Yet to find any response, and I'm feeling it's not going to be changing anytime soon.
Well, mid matchup's going pretty even Stevens. The offlaners are both struggling. In both situations, it's not too surprising. Nature's Prophet is a very strong hero, but they do have a lot of nasty catch with the multiple stun lane in the top side of the map. And bottom lane, obviously, losing both your heroes twice in a row never is very fortuitous.
Just one of the problems with this Spirit Breaker, I feel like he's just useful for getting a couple of stuns in on the team fight that most heroes can't pump out as quickly, and then he just sort of dies.
That is good vision and good catch most of the time. They're actually going to harass Watson, but he does have, of course, a Ring of Health, so he will be able to heal up pretty quickly in response. And you have to be, as they're doing really well, hiding behind the creeps, otherwise you're going to get hooked in the process.
Yeah, it's so important to have a perfect response in the process.
Radiant are scanning.
And yeah, not much happening towards mid, but a teensy bit of harass. Top side is something that we haven't paid our attention towards. Toby has gotten a significant amount more creep farm. Collapse actually, again, hooked in the process. And heals up a lot, at the very least, but will again die to Watson. Mira, no mana for a charge. Tried to get a lucky bash onto Fishman, but Watson is scaring off the Spirit Breaker. Actually, Watson is going to hook the Spirit Breaker. My man is on fire. That bottom lane is a disaster for Team Spirit.
Absolute beast on the Pudgar, and as much as the stuffing may deceive you, nothing to toy around with. And again, we have this wild Sven-style support with the right-click Marcy. Feel like something's gone wrong when the Marcy is able to do your job better than the Sven.
Well, smoke is pretty good for the extra, well, obviously the silence, but also the mischance coming in. That is very hard to deal with in the earlier parts of the game. That way he can keep Toby alive as much as possible. Speaking of which, Toby has a triple Wraith Band on that offlane Nature's Prophet. That is a bulky boy right now. And you don't get to see the triples that much anymore. Obviously, there was a time when you had a Storm with a lot more of the starting items. Right now, kill comes in from Yatoro onto Toby. He managed to take him down at the very least. But Toby, Nature's Prophet is here that can TP where needed. Rolling Thunder has been used by Laurel towards mid. But the rune is bottom, and it is going to be an Invis rune. Should be picked up by Laurel to refill his bottle at the very least. Denied, okay. Mira picks up the Invis rune. And that is actually a really good move from Fishman to make sure that the Invis rune does not get bottled in the process. So Fishman, yeah, he has one more leap. He's walking towards Watson, and Mira immediately sees his mistake that he's made because Watson's here to nom his way to victory. And Watson is on a dominating streak right now. This is baited. You just got jebaited.
There's heroes that we've seen absolutely destroy this Pudge in the grand scheme of things. Or don't feel free to make sure you don't get destroyed. A free $15 deposit when you sign up with the BetBoom app, clicking through the banner below the stream. I don't know if this Marcy can deal with the Tiny, though. That's a lot more sketchy in my eyes.
Well, Marcy has been pretty strong against the Pudge as of late. With the ulti, Marcy can definitely kill him. depending on how much farm you have, obviously. TP towards bottom, Stormstormer did get the kill. Nice Rolling Thunder, and actually the DP is healing a little bit too much. They might find the kill off Watson. They do take him down. A 4 kill secured for Collapse, and that is a great rotation there from Laurel. Nice smoke gank from the Team Spirit players to make sure that the Pudge will be hampered in terms of his farm.
Much needed, because if this Pudge kept getting away freely with everything he's been able to obtain, he would be able to just snowball out of control. Heard in the interview that he can be very volatile as a hero. There's a reason for that volatility. It's because the power, when it goes the other way around, in his favor instead. Oh, that's a beautiful silence combo. Just the second they get out of the smoke. Oof. And that Sven stun's going to cost all the HP of the puck, and the Pangolier is able to just regen everything back to full. Back to base you go.
Yeah, painful in that lane. Toby's going to get jumped by Yatoro. A lot of damage, while bottom lane Watson with the Exorcism will lose his life to Collapse, and both side lanes lose their cores in very close succession to each other. And Yatoro using the remainder of his ulti to at least harass the building a little bit. But yep, it is going to be an interesting build, because it looks like he's building the Battle Fury Marcy, something you don't see too often. So you have the choice of going for a Sven, or a Sven that just hits really, really fast.
I suppose. But who's the Battle Fury for? I mean, I guess you keep the Quelling Blade equipped for the Natures?
That, first of all, is always a big plus, and the fact that you can just... Because one thing that Marcy is really weak at is farming the jungle. And that's the biggest downside the hero has. Speaking of downsides, bottom lane, a lot of damage coming in. And it's going to be with the ulti coming through from Toby, the help they need to make sure another double kill gets secured towards mid. Trying to deal some damage, but Sven is pretty tanky. Hey, that's Maboshka. He's got 960 HP, a bunch of armor with his third spell. He's not an easy kill.
I have to wonder how much Entity will care, because as you mentioned, most of this lineup is magic damage. Except for the Natures. I guess he's got a good mix of both.
Yeah, still primarily magic. Like, his ulti does do a significant amount. His right clicks are okay, but and his streams don't really do that much damage to heroes. It's primarily the blocks that are a nuisance to deal with. Smoke gank towards bottom lane. We've got the Dream Coil available, and Collapse did get the tier 1 tower. But they're just going to walk right on top of him, and Collapses another goner. They don't even need to use the Dream Coil or any of that sort. They managed to pick up the DP, but even with 5 kills ahead, Entity are losing in terms of farm, because, well, Spirit Heroes are farming pretty exceptionally well.
Yeah, and the farm's the main thing keeping in this, it feels like, because this Pudge should be having a free game. But as I mentioned that, I take a glance at that net worth chart, and the Marcy's 500 gold ahead despite all the success Pudge had. Feels a bit wild to me.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Yeah.
Marcy, a bit of a gold magician.
And it's going to be really good timing on that Battle Fury as well. So Yatoro, more known as a heavy farming core player, will be doing exactly that with the Battle Fury pickup. And Katomi just wants to get his shard. That's kind of what they're waiting for, the big shard on Ricky, so that they can have the arrows, hooks, wombo combos all over the place.
I guess that's part of the reason why. I guess he went for just the Ring of Health.
Oh, Watson.
Want to finish up the Vanguard. It's going to make him a little bit extra squishy.
But is it enough to keep him alive? There's going to be a fight ensuing. Watson's dropping very low. They will possibly kill off this one. But Poshka will be caught on the back end. Yatoro popped his ulti, and he's going to go in for Toby. who does have a significant amount of armor, which makes it reasonably lengthy to kill him off. Right now, Stormstormer needs to bail out. His teammates are starting to dwindle pretty quickly. Fishman inside the trees. Mira might actually be taken down here with the last right click. Will be able to secure it. And on the opposing side, it is Yatoro falling as well. The arrow lands. Oh my god, Fishman. The collapse is still heating up from his eclipse. From his ulti in the process. Stormstormer is actually going to get taken down because there are 2 cores still in the running. Watson with a good hook to keep the DP at bay. There is a mech to heal himself up. Are they going to have the damage with the arrow? They will be able to interrupt the TP. And now it's Laurel on the run with a swashbuckle. Should be able to kill off Fishman and will be able to find that kill. But that swashbuckle for the kill is actually going to cost him his life as well. And Watson gets a double kill, even though he was the first one to die in that engagement.
Yeah, but if you're able to rotate back in and clean things up, you start to get this lead and you get this space where this Pudge is close to finished on this Ags. Actually, he probably kept the Ring of Health because he doesn't want to go with the Vanguard. Likely going for the Hood and the Internal Shroud.
Yeah. Eternal Shroud probably not, but Pipe's always nice.
Dire's top tower is
Especially this game for Team Spirit. The Pipe against the quite big amount of magic damage from Entity is going to be a huge addition to their build-up. Mira is going to get jumped here. Gets the charge away, or so he thinks. The Dream Coil will be able to interrupt him and they'll find themselves the Spirit Breaker with probably the tier 1 tower, because it's kind of surprising that it's still standing at 14 minutes into the game. Actually, Spirit Breaker is building up the shard right now, and the Spirit Breaker shard, I think, soaks up a targetable spell, if I'm not mistaken, something along those lines. I don't ever really see it, but it's a good way to make sure that the Sleeping Dart will be targeting a different hero, something along those lines. We're gonna have to look it up.
It's something with the 20-second cooldown, last 6 seconds, and it will redirect one ability onto Spirit Breaker instead, with the big caveat that it will cost 75 mana, which is quite expensive for a Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, I don't ever really see that shard, so it's kind of interesting to get to see it being picked up in this game, especially as his first item. And as you can see on the screen, the odds are 50-50 between the two sides. And if you think you can wager on those odds, don't forget to check out BetBoom in the banner below the stream to get yourselves a possible $15 free bet.
I think the goal is to just counteract the Pudge Dismember. What are the main things
I think the
that
Sleeping
can stop
Dart is
Marcy from getting that right click?
I think dragging the Sleeping Dart onto the Spirit Breaker is probably the most value. I don't really think
that too.
The Pudge one is. I don't know how necessarily it works with the ranges of certain spells, 'cause Pudge doesn't have the biggest range on it. Well, Stormstormer
certainly just
has his Witchblade done, so he does do a lot of damage. Speaking of a lot of damage, there's going to be a quick jump here. The hook comes in. They don't need the Sleeping Dart if you got an arrow. Nice Dream Coil keeps the Marcy actually out of it. For now, Fishman's going to get completely locked down. They're trying to disengage, but they'll find 2 supports for the one that Entity managed to secure.
good chase from the Marcy. And we're seeing a lot of teams. We got a passive wind laced on the Pudge. I think the Marcy's buying one in a second. A lot of high movement, so everyone can chase.
Jay Watson? Sure. Just randomly, well, not randomly, he obviously went for that hook, but collapsed. Not paying attention for half a second, gets hooked from the fog, and will be losing his life. And he's got the Ags done on the Pudge, so he does have that healing reduction, big, fat, juicy AoE as well. It's going to be significantly more problematic for the team fights coming in
Dire's middle
soon
tower
enough.
has fallen.
And Sleeping Dart into Arrow, into Hook. The combo of Arrow and Hook into the kill to be picked up. Fishman's trying to quickly counter ward the vision that they have in the area. Mira is actually going for Fishman here. The Rolling Thunder has ended though. Dreamfall onto 2, including Yatoro, and if they can get that kill, that would be a huge one. On the side, Hook's going to be a bit off the mark. Toby will lose his life, and with the exorcism coming out, they need to back off on Entity. Larl kept them distracted for so long that they did not manage to get the kill onto Yatoro, and that is actually really big. Because Larl didn't even die. He took the Pudge ulti and kept the Watson Pudge completely distracted from taking down the Marcy, which honestly, as a mid laner, what more can you wish for?
Same with the Pango. It's a miracle he's alive. I don't know how, with all the Pudge disabled and the puck right nearby, he was able to squeeze his way out of that. It's certainly a miracle.
Well, Yatoro is done with his BKB. It's getting delivered right now. Does still have to deal, obviously, with the Pudge ulti, but... Oh, they're going in here. Sleeping Dart comes out, but he's out of range, and look at that. Maposhka is trying to block any possible hook arrow shenanigans by being a literally bodyguard. Collapse, though. They're going to go for more. The arrow is going to fly out. It's going to be a bit of extra harass. And Silence thrown out. This Mirana needs to bail out because Pudge and Puck don't really have that much mana to work with either.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Mind games and a bit of pause, a second to breathe. Because we've had a bit of a wild third game. This seemed so weird from every single situation. And someone needs to fix their DS Picto chat. Get those technology issues with, cutting edge technology.
Or just, someone hit the router by accident and everything crashes. There's always some issues that will be transpiring. Hopefully that can be resolved momentarily on their part. This game is very close, but I'm getting a little bit afraid of that Yatoro Marcy getting out of hand with the BKB now done. The ways of controlling him are going to be pretty rough. They have the Pudge, and that's about it. Until, of course, Puck gets level 25 talent, or they have the Sprout Leash, but Sprout Leash doesn't work because he has a Quelling Blade, aka the Pudge for the foreseeable future is the only way that they can keep the Marcy from hunting them down, unless they just dodge and weave, which they're pretty capable on, with the Puck, Mirana, and Ricky being very evasive.
Just everyone on this entity lineup have some way to slow or even entirely disable the Marcy from finding these picks.
Oh.
The sleep dart denied. There we go.
Yep, there it comes right through, and if he uses his bulldoze at the same time, he has, of course, that status resistance on the Spirit Breaker to make sure that it will immediately evaporate from his ally. They will find themselves a farming Nature's Prophet, and that is Toby controlled right now. The smoke does get thrown out. Toby, can he get himself back? It will not be possible. Just barely manages to get taken down. Almost escaped. It was a good save attempt, but it was not good enough.
Just barely able to squeak that one on by. Feel like that rarely happens. And now
smoke up on the side of Team Spirit. They're looking for an attack inside the Radiant jungle. Watson's going to be spotted out, doesn't have his BKB just yet, and his teammates are also very far away. Does do a lot of damage, but it's not going to be nearly enough. Puck might be able to get the kill onto Maposhka. And with the Dream Coil thrown out, will the Puck be able to stay alive? Stormstormer is actually in trouble here. The charge, the stun lock, it's a hefty amount of damage. With the Diffuser Blade, he actually doesn't have any mana on the Puck to get out. Will not be able to blink out either. So another kill coming in. 2 main cores from Entity taken down. And Yatoro is currently 3k ahead of the Pudge in terms of net worth. So this Marcy is getting out of control.
To successfully catch them, that's one thing. To be able to sustain it and get both the Pudge and the Puck with no response or making mistakes requires such solid execution. It's amazing to see Team Spirit pull that off, as I feel like this will be a hard-fought game for them to win it the whole way through. There's a team that'll be able to do it. It is Team Spirit.
Yeah, they're looking a lot more in control at the moment. Mira's quite a ways away from the BKB, but that shard is definitely should be a possibility to be very big value this game for the side of Entity as a big supporting tool in the arsenal. Fishman is really farmed, almost as the 4-staff after the drums are done on the 5 position Marana. But they are kind of being outmaneuvered on the map. Team Spirit going for another smoke. If they get a decent fight towards the Roche pit, they can take Roche on with the Exorcism. They will get a very quick catch onto Fishman. Now that he's died, they're next to the pit. Yatoro has popped his ulti. They're going to go in for Roche to secure the first ages of the game. It does get scanned. Obviously, they know that they're in the pit. And they have a pretty okay team to try and get there quickly. You do have to be a little bit wary, especially now that the Marcy ulti is on cooldown.
It's a pretty low cooldown, so you just have to be careful. But it seems like Entity will just push the issue and try to finish this Roche themselves. Such strong damage between the Natures and the Pudge. They'll be able to easily clear this out. And Team Spirit don't want to contest.
Yeah, they did not expect the Roche steal to come in. They get 1 kill looking in for Mira. Can get the charge away, but the hook! Oh my lord! Watson! Oh, the dude's pretty A-okay on that Pudge. His lifting skills are sublime, and they will get themselves Roche plus a double kill on towards the supports. That's a nice way to try and gain back favor into this game. Stormstormer is going for the Gaia Sange. I would assume afterwards the Octarine Core, because it's stupidly good on the Puck. And there we have Toby going for the Gleipnir. Extra ways to hold the enemy down are definitely a must-have, especially once Marcy's BKB has ended. The hero is very painful if he gets on top of you.
Yeah, and that's sort of the big fear. I'm surprised he still just has a base Ring of Health. The fact that he's gone BKB right after the Ags. I feel like he would have built something with it, whether it's a Shroud or a Vanguard, whatever direction he wanted to go. No base upgrade.
Yeah, I could always use that for a later Refresh Orb if so needed, or a Lotus Orb. Nice arrow comes landing in. And afterwards, the Collapse was blocking the hook for some reason. Is he going to be able to stay alive is the question. That is not going to be the case. I'm really questioning that move. Collapse is soaking a hook for his 5-position Maposhka Sven. However, it seems to still be paying off in their favor right now. Baiba comes out from the puck, so needs to rejoin his teammates. Nice smoke screen, but there's so much damage coming out onto the Pudge. Way more than he anticipated. And they will get the catch onto Watson. Regardless, they went a little bit too deep here on the side of Entity. They will have to pay for it dearly. Stormstormer, can he get himself out of there? Does have the Blink Dagger, but Marl is pretty quick on the chase. And will be hunting for this Stormstormer puck.
I guess the physical damage between the Pangolier and the Marcy is enough just physical burst to be able to break through everyone on Entity. It's reliant on that ult going down. That's going to be a lot more reliable because Marcy just got that level 20 talent for that unleash movement speed bonus.
Yeah, Yatoro, he's got the Basher, Blink Dagger, it's got the Chrysalis now, so now the damage is going to be there. Chrysalis, Daedalus, at that point the Marcy's just going to be able to shred right through his opponents, even though we already saw the Pudge definitely getting cracked by Laurel in that fight, to be specific. But it is a dangerous territory for the Pudge. I still find that, you know, Collapse is playing an interesting game. I still can't believe that he soaked the freaking hook and killed himself that way. But they won the fight, so maybe it was the ultimate bait.
We can get that Marcy ultimate cut down to 40 seconds, which would be very important later on, or I guess actually the later it goes on, the cooldown of it becomes less and less important. You'll always have uptime or debatable. Fights.
That's why the Marcy's
longer and longer breaks in between.
The Marcy's marked up. He wants Daedalus, then he wants Abyssal, and then he wants Refresher, just so that he has his ulti whenever it's needed in this game.
One idea, and I guess that Battle Fury really lets him delete across the map, because that net worth on this Marcy right now is terrifying. Yatoro's something else.
Yeah, Battle Fury Marcy is pretty A-okay at farming. Smoke gets broken. They immediately go in onto Kataomi with the Viz detection drop. That sentry ward right there. He did not expect them to immediately blow him up. There's going to be a buyback actually. Arrow lands onto Collapse on the back line. Dream Coil onto a multitude of enemies. They are, after that Dream Coil, immediately going to try and bail out. Is that going to be possible here? Not for Fishman. He's going to get blown up by Yatoro. Going to surround Stormstormer. He needs to be careful because Stormstormer does not have a buyback available. He's jumping and jiving through the entire team fight. Really wants to kill them Maposhka, and they are going in for more. There's no Rolling Thunder from Lal either. Didn't pop out his BKB. Can they get away? Oh, that hook just off the mark. And they should be able to disengage on Team Spirit.
I almost feel like that's the first time he's missed a hook. I was surprised that it didn't connect. I was just so used. Hook, time and time again. Could be a Spirit Breaker running at the speed of sound. Doesn't matter. He finds a way to just grab him. Finally a bit of mercy, and it means that Tier 1 will be taken out. And that attack speed on the Natures with the Treants. And looks like they want some more. They're immediately going to run all the way across the map, using the smoke for the additional movement speed and the gank potential.
Yeah, the Stormstormer Buck has, after that buyback previously, has fallen down in terms of net worth pretty far. Needs to catch up quickly with and get himself the Octarine. The cooldown reduction from Octarine is just way too much value for a Puck that already has not the longest cooldowns in the game.
Don't forget, you can get into the game. A free bet of $15 when you sign up for the first time with the BetBoom app by clicking on the banner down below the stream. And I guess that's one handy thing about the Marcy. You can lift your teammate and get them out of the target line of the hook.
Yeah, that's also why a lot of teams, when they're playing up against the Ricky Murano or Ricky Pudge combo, they just get a bunch of 4-staffs on everyone. But I guess Yatoro has it innately with the Dispose. And they're going to go for the Tier 1 tower towards top lane. He's got a full Daedalus done. It is a pretty scary Marcy if he gets on top of you.
And that's exactly what he wants to do with all the movement speed buffs. His team, the War Cry, to give the additional armor just so they can ignore the Exorcism and dive in. And boy, they're going to have to fight this directly. The Puck with the Dream Coil to keep them locked out. There's no follow-up just yet, but that's where the Spirit Breaker comes in.
Oh my god.
To try to find the answer.
Plus is dead in a second right there. Gets evaporated going forward. Yatoro with a double kill. And they're checking out the bit, but of course it's not up at the very least for another 30 seconds. They can just push for more. They even still have the catapult wave behind them. And the Marcy is kind of at a point where it's uncontrollably dangerous to even be in the vicinity of that hero. And with
Hey, who needs a heart when you bring rings of health and vitality boosters on all your items, like Yatoro is? He's so tanky.
Kataomi
Finally,
needs to be very careful because he doesn't have a buyback either. Collapse, stop tanking everything. Oh, big kill.
I don't know why he's being so greedy with the arrow. Sharing is caring after all.
And Yatoro pops his ulti just to clear up these racks pretty quickly. There's still tier 2 tower mid, tier 2 tower bottom, so they can't get themselves more racks at this state. And I think the Puck tried to get a possible tree coil catch there, but luckily enough, Laurel hits him with a swashbuckle bash.
What a wild game this has been. To have a Marcy start carrying like, oh, if they bring the Magnus out, maybe it'll have the damage and everything. You don't need the Magnus for the damage, apparently.
Watson
It's perfectly enough as is.
Watson tried to go for it again. They need to get a good displacement at the start of the fight, burst that one down, and then go for a possible engagement. Because a lot of the time, when they get a good hook, that happened as well with Collapse, they hook him, and then Pudge has to finish him off while the rest of the team dive on towards the back line. And that means that it takes way longer for the Pudge to actually join the rest of his teammates.
Even so, I get him going for the damage, and he needs the BKB to be defensive. And it seemed like he's building a Lotus next. I'm looking at that right. I don't
On the Pudge?
know if that's a big play. Yeah.
I guess against Silence and Sven Stun is pretty nice. Against the Abyssal Blade that's coming up soon enough is also pretty okay. But it's also the armor that Pudge is just lacking at this stage. And Marcy does so much physical damage. You need a bunch more armor. And there's going to be a hook save coming in. But onto the high ground, it is going to be Laurel chasing for more. Toby needs to try and get more 4-steps in his favor, but that's not going to be the case. He's going to get rolled upon. Nice 4-step there by Fishman, leaps back towards his own high ground. And they're very deep. Hook onto Mira, drag back the Spirit Breaker. Mira can get taken out. It doesn't matter because Yatoro's going to burst down the Pudge, jumping in for more, absolutely backbreaking his opponents. It's going to be Toby next, down for the count. No buyback on all three heroes, and that is going to be Entity losing game number 3 and Team Spirit that take the series, eliminating Entity from the BetBoom Universe tournament.
Bit of misclick. Seems like they're ready to just run on out of here, at least on some of the players. And what an amazing game to end it. Marcy can hold her own weight, it seems. This is amazing to see.
Yep, I kind of saw it coming because I always appreciate Marcy's carry capabilities. Honestly, I think it has a pretty high win rate as a safe laner. Sometimes in Southeast Asia, I definitely see it as the off laner being picked up as well. But the hero is surprisingly capable, even with the massive amount of nerfs that it has gotten. Though there's, again, debates, mid laner, safe laner. Who gets the MVP? It's a tough one this time around, but I assume it's going to be on to Yatoro because he was, again, really good in that showdown there. We have him, Yatoro, on the safe lane. Marcy with the Battle Fury was incredibly farmed and just deleted the Pudge in half a second at the end of the game.
Just so much burst, and the fact that they just combined it with the Pango felt like you had two people doing the same thing, but it's just so much damage it doesn't even matter. There was no way for anyone on the side of Team Entity to find a way to counteract it. I love it, and we'll have an interview in a few moments with Mira soon.
Yep, so that they're prepping up that interview